talk about the war on crypto today.
The war on crypto.
Yeah, we discussed this yesterday for a second on Spaces, which we're trying out some new things on Tasty Live. So we did a Space.
You did that on Twitter yesterday, right? Is that on Twitter?
That's right.
It's called Space, right?
Space, yeah. We held the space. I think they call it Spaces is like the feature.
Got it.
But yeah, I thought we had a pretty good conversation. I want to keep that going for everybody that wasn't able to join.
Sure.
Get your perspective.
Yeah. No,
your view too, Tony.
Yeah.
Because there's a war right now on crypto. I don't know how else to put it when you kind of break this down. But for anybody that's not familiar, we just have one slide today, a couple of bullet points, and then we'll get into the conversation. But if you didn't see the headlines this week, on Monday, the SEC sued Binance and its CEO, and basically saying you're operating an illegal exchange, you're commingling billions of customer funds, and those funds are being commingled in an account controlled by the CEO. So we're talking kind of like FTX area. I mean, it seems like that on the surface. And then on Tuesday, the SEC came out and sued Coinbase, basically saying that it's doing all of these things that you don't have the correct registrations for. So you're breaking U.S. securities laws. You're acting as a broker, an exchange, a clearing agency, and you've never registered as those things. So I guess to start off, surprised at all that we've gotten to this point where the SEC is now coming after the biggest crypto exchange on the planet or company in the form of Binance, specifically going after Binance's U.S. operations, and also certainly the biggest in the U.S., Coinbase, also a publicly traded company.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't think you could put Coinbase and Binance into the same. I don't think you can lump them together. I understand that, and I think we've talked about this, that the four big players were Binance, Coinbase, Crypto.com, and FTX. And FTX is gone. Binance, I don't think they're going to be gone, but I think that they're clearly they've made a statement with respect to, and there's always been suspicions about Binance, but who knows? But you don't make the accusations that they've made about Binance without, at least Binance US, without having some facts. You have to have something. So my guess is those are so severe that Binance is in trouble. And I think that is and that's probably a completely different case. I don't think you can lump them all together. I think Coinbase has a very different argument and is in a very different position. And I actually think that they're shooting from strength. I think Coinbase is going to be in a position that they can and I think they realize it. I think they can make this. I think they can make this the defining moment in the digital asset space. And I mean, somebody had to take the bullet. Somebody had to do the dirty work. And I think that, listen, if I was the CEO of Coinbase and I felt as strongly as I'm sure Brian feels about his business, they're going to, this is his defining moment, and he's going to go for it.
They have billions in capital. Certainly they have some legal expertise. If you listen to their chief legal officer, and then you look at what they even came out and said yesterday, more towards the afternoon, but they also feel that way, right? They're fighting. I mean, they should fight. We're not delisting these securities that you are saying are securities, or excuse me, we're not delisting these tokens that you're saying are securities. We are not stopping our staking. I think 11 or so states sent cease and desist letters or orders to Coinbase to cease staking operations. And so they're basically saying, no, I don't exactly know what the next steps are. I suppose everybody knew that this was coming in the sense that they received a Wells notice in March. But yeah, I agree. I think, in maybe some way, if you're pro crypto and you do believe that Coinbase has a pretty strong argument here that they will win, this could, in a sense, be a positive.
Isn't this really about the future of like financial privacy? I mean, you've got these shadowy super coders. I mean, this is the way I look at it from a layman's point of view that doesn't know a lot about it. You get these shadowy kind of people. That's what painted picture that the media has given me, and they're really talking about my financial privacy, and I think that's the disconnect between the government Geithners of the world or of the financial world and the people. Like
that's where I keep going back to its originality, that crypto was supposed to be this, the man's gone, and you could take a hold of your own finances. I think that's what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, definitely rooted in that, in my opinion. I mean, certainly what it's come out of. But today, if you're, and I get it, if you're the government, I don't want this shadowy system where money laundering can occur, et cetera, et cetera. And there are definitely elements of that exist still, and were maybe more prevalent if we go back 5-10 years at the very beginning. But today, the software that's available to look at what's happening on chain and the transparent nature of the blockchain, maybe this is not as applicable to Bitcoin necessarily. But in this case, we're not really even talking about Bitcoin at all. But when you look at Ethereum, you look at a transparent, decentralized blockchain, and you have software that can start to categorize transactions and actors or participants. You know, today, the government has access to, law enforcement has access to extremely powerful tools. I would argue that if you're, let's say, power hungry, and we can apply this to China, we've talked about central bank digital currencies, I would argue this is the absolute best system for monitoring financial transactions, if that's what you want to do. If you want to invade privacy at that level, this is how you would do it. And so maybe it's just a case where we have a lot of politicians, lawmakers that aren't fully aware of what's happening in the space. It's evolved so quickly, everyone else is just behind. Because otherwise, when you start to look at this very closely, the only conclusion you can then come to is that they just hate crypto. But the question is why? I mean, do you think that and if we just go top down, I mean, from the president to senators and, you know, Gary Gensler here as the chair, does the U.S. administration hate crypto? Are they anti-crypto?
Are you talking about like what is it, zero knowledge proofs or something like that? Is that the chains that you're talking about?
Oh no, I'm talking about Ethereum and
first of all, I don't know how any of us can answer that. I mean, you have an 80-year-old president, you know, a 79-year-old president. You have all 79-year-old, you know,
candidates
that have, you know, I mean, I doubt that if you looked at Trump or Biden right now, which are the two leading candidates, either one has a freaking clue, has ever traded one penny of crypto, or has a clue about anything. You know, I mean, I think it's funny that you know, Trump's wife was doing a lot of stuff on the Solana blockchain, and then all of a sudden they say, okay, well, Solana's not, you know, I mean, I'm not picking on her because I'm glad she used the Solana blockchain, but I just think it's kind of funny that, you know, so obviously somebody has a clue somewhere. I think that I would think that there is a huge, you know, listen, crypto's in its infancy, and digital assets and the whole industry, however you want to lump it together, it's all in its infancy from a historical perspective. Now, things should move a lot faster. It's not, you know, it's not 1920, it's 2020 or 2023, and we're in a different era where things move at lightning speed. You can change an entire industry in 3 weeks, let alone, you don't need 3 years or 3 decades or that kind of stuff. So I think that there is, you know, there's an obligation on this administration to either accept something unless you can disprove concept, and they haven't disproved anything, in my opinion, and they're fighting this, and I think that Coinbase explained this quite well, but they're taking the absolute wrong approach here. You know, which is rather than embrace the upside of what this is, they are regulating the downside, and I think it's a disastrous approach from from both a political and a business side.
Yeah, I think it's bizarre. I mean, we have a history of innovation here in the United States. Arguably, we are the epicenter of technology, the largest financial market in the world. I mean, we have a fantastic legal system. You would think that if we just view this as a technology, it would be embraced. And I think what's really just the strangest element to this, if this is all true, when you listen to what Coinbase's legal team, for example, has said, when you listen to what their CEO has said, they've claimed to have engaged with the SEC over 30 times. When they were sued on Tuesday, it was the exact same day that they are testifying, along with others, in front of the Agricultural Committee on a market structure framework. this is like a movie at this point. To dig into that even a bit more, just how odd this is. It was reported, and this is on CNBC. Again, not sure if this is 100% true, but there was a CNBC article yesterday saying that Binance's lawyers are alleging Gary Gensler reached out and offered to serve as advisor to the firm.
I thought that was
2019.
that was Coinbase.
No, this is Binance.
Oh, it was Binance. I thought she said it was Coinbase.
And so this is just getting weirder and weirder.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's where I'm at this point, where
Yeah.
the questions are really like, why are we so anti-crypto?
And if you think about it from a constituency standpoint, I don't care who the politicians are, I don't care what side of the fence you're on. From a everybody, it doesn't. Crypto's not a political thing; it's a technology.
Right.
There's no politics involved. At least I can't. If there is, I've never even heard of it. Yeah. So it's a. It doesn't matter. I just, that's the part I don't get. It's got to be. It's got to be a know-how. It's got to be a situation of know-how. So, listen, that's on you guys. I feel like the people that are running crypto platforms and crypto firms like you and other people like you throughout the whole industry, I've talked to a lot of people that run different crypto firms, and they basically say, hey, a lot of our energy is spent working with different politicians and trying to get them up to speed as to, the benefits of what digital assets and what a decentralized, market structure could look like, and the advantages that could bring to the economy and things like that. And they said that's a ton of our work. It's just basically, it's just teaching. And I understand that. And I think that, so I throw that out on you and everybody else, because like it's on everybody. You're running a platform, you got to get out there. It's like what we had to do with options. We had to popularize an entire derivative that didn't have a good reputation. You have to popularize.
Options are dangerous. They're too risky.
Yeah.
That's what
Weapons of
people
mass
used to think
destruction.
about 20
Of course.
years ago. That's how they used to look at
Right.
it.
We had to popularize it. And
I don't understand them.
You are. This is your cross to bear. This is
The legacy we left you.
You have to carry the torch.
We're going to need some lobbying dollars first. Okay?
Of
First
course.
and foremost.
But I don't think traditional lobbyists, the crypto is not run by traditional lobbyists. This is people that are your age, and it's a different breed.
I think we'll get past this.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's a defining moment.
Yeah. I think what you're seeing come out of this is definitely encouraging. And I don't think that there's anyone either that's saying, oh, yeah, you should operate as an unlicensed, unregistered exchange.
Of course not.
Custodian. But I would argue we need, Gary Gensler on one hand is saying the rules are clear, come in, register. And then everyone is saying, well, you're not really allowing us to do that in a sense, not making it easy necessarily. There are some, as I understand, that have in some capacity in crypto have registrations or licenses. That said, how do you register as a clearing firm when the clearing or settlement layer is a blockchain? And I think
you don't register as a clearing firm, but like Coinbase bought an exchange, so they're trying to offer exchange traded products. Crypto.com bought an exchange, so they're trying to list exchange traded products. They already have binaries in the marketplace. The CBOE is about to launch their new, crypto exchange. EDX, which is an exchange sponsored by Citadel and other firms, is about to launch. So you're going to get these exchange-traded products that are coming on board. When we relaunch the small exchange, we fully expect to have, crypto products on there under an exchange. But again, it's a lot easier said than done. Like, we want to launch a crypto product, but then we go to the clearing firms. They go, no crypto products. Then we go to the regulators.
You can launch it, you're just not going to launch it here.
Yeah, they go,
do whatever you want to do. You're not going to do it here.
It's not like we didn't try the first time. So it's like it's as easy as everybody says. Oh, put everything on a listed exchange. Even when you own an exchange, you try to go there and say, hey, I want to list something. They're like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. You forget it. You're not listing it. We're not clearing it. Blah blah blah. So, it's not nearly that easy.
Well, all of that said, before we wrap up, and we can talk about some of the price action here in the market when you look at the BNB token or you look at Coinbase stock. But while there's some headline risk here, and I think given this conversation, it seems we're in agreement that ultimately this gets resolved and maybe it's a positive. where do you see opportunities? Is there a trade? Is there a certain area in the markets that could benefit more than others, given the situation? Like, do you see any kind of trading opportunities there?
I do. I actually think there's a lot of opportunity, and it's probably not in the underlying right now, because I think the underlying is going to be more challenging. I think the opportunities are on public companies that can bring, this whole type of technology, that you can invest in this technology. So like when you think about AI for a second, there's only a limited number of companies that you can invest in AI. And so when this whole AI thing was going through, people were skeptical about investing in AI because they were like, I'm not really sure what it is. It didn't have the same kind of roof over it that crypto has, but people were skeptical about investing in AI. So there's only a few places you can invest, and obviously the money went for the big ones, right? It came into NVIDIA, came into Microsoft, things like that.
NVIDIA, Amazon, Adobe.
Yeah, but mostly NVIDIA and Microsoft, for the most
Even
part.
Tesla for the
AMD.
throw that in there.
Yeah, AMD, but whatever. They came for the big kids. In the crypto space, there are no big kids. There's only coin. That's it. There is nothing else. There's a couple of miners out there, but there's nothing else to trade. So, it's funny, but I don't think there's any other play. And I think Coinbase, when you look at it right here at $52 on its butt, just a couple bucks off its all-time low, you have to start thinking, oh, okay, well, if you want to play it, it's a reasonable shot at these levels. That's all.
Fundamentally, it's also a real company compared to other meme stocks, but
but they're a one-trick pony. I mean, the risk of Coinbase is that they're a one-trick pony, and they're going to have a regulatory overhang for a long time. It's going to really, the legal battle they're about to face is going to be, the litigation costs are going to be ridiculous, but they're going to resolve it, and the stock's going to open up $20 one day, and there is asymmetrical upside opportunity in this one. So I like Coinbase, and I think that's the cleanest way to play it. I don't think you can buy, any underlying assets right now. I mean, other than Bitcoin or ETH, and they're not cheap.
No.
Coinbase is cheap, way cheaper relative to the price of those things.
Well, to put context around the legal costs real quick, Ripple's been fighting the SEC in court for 2 years to the tune of about $200 million.
Yeah.
So we know Coinbase can do it. Last question: could Coin become a meme stock? Is there a world where that happens?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. There is a world. There's no world in my mind. There's no world where Coin. I don't see like a downside to it, like a huge downside, but there is meme stock potential. Yeah.
Certainly trades like one. I mean, it's got the upside call skew that you would expect in the options.
Yeah, if you look at the call skew in there, it's crazy, and you can't blame it. If I was a market maker and somebody came in to buy a crap load of like 70 calls, man, I'd have a hard time selling them. Like, I don't care what they pay. Or 60 calls. Stock's trading for 50. Like, I don't want to sell the 50s and 60s. I'm sorry, the 60s and 70s. But if you came in to buy a crap load of 40 puts, sold. I'll give you all you want.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
you're hedging a 20 delta option. How do you hedge that? You don't hedge.
How do you hedge a call in there? I do not like I don't mind selling puts in there. I don't like selling calls at all.
Oh my God, these calls should be sold with both hands. Now that you just said that, you know it, I know it.
Well, in that case, would you look at giving the stock? I mean, it's not cheap, so it's going to be not the most efficient use of capital. But would you buy the stock and sell those calls against it? Would you do a covered call?
Oh, you could do that for
Poor
sure.
man's covered call.
Yeah, okay. The IV rank's high. You can do covered calls, poor man covered calls. I mean, stock's, stock's on its butt.
Yeah, down 20% in the last 5 days or so.
10%.
But it got hit pretty good before this news came out.
No, totally.
So
Totally. All right, Ryan, thanks.
thank you guys.
Good stuff. While you're talking, the market's rallying a little bit. The NASDAQ is at least.
Yes, NASDAQ's rallying.
NASDAQ Russell spread really widening out. I think our timing looks awfully good.
You're welcome. We'll take a quick 90-second break and come back. We got more Tasty Live after this. What do we got coming up next? We got a market measure.